Back again for another Faith in Home Buying. As you heard, this is Tamika Ellsworth, and I'm equipping people of faith for the home buying process. And had some great conversations with some listeners, and thank you so much for your support. But had some great conversations with some listeners with regards to new construction and wanting to kind of go the new construction way. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that just the information that was shared and just the conversations that we have some new homeowners coming soon in other areas of Manteca and Fresno. So thank you very much for your support, and please do call. That number does work, 408-561-7922, or TamikaEllsworth.com. You can catch me on my website. So just know I'm here for advice, and if I don't pick up, don't worry, I'll get back to you. So today, so what I've been going through this season, and it's been a crazy seller's market. Like it just is. Like whatever the news is saying, it's true times 10. Especially being in the mix and working with buyers and working with sellers in this market, and we're seeing increases of 15-20% of people going over the list price and having to put in additional funds. We're going back to that time that you're going to have to be prepared to really compete as a buyer in this market, or really make sure you have someone that's advocating for you as an agent, especially if you don't have too much funds, and just going within where you can compete at the highest in this particular market, especially to capitalize on really low interest rates. But I'm going to be talking about some seller stats and market updates. Keeping matters current, love them. They have some great stats, which I'll share, but then I'm also going to share about, I've been working with several of my clients that, have a home that they need to sell in order to purchase. And so when you're going through that process, it's very, very like two big moving ships happening together. And I'm very experienced in it. Happens in many different climates. My clients can tell you that, but they've all been successful. And there's some tips and tricks on that I want to share that will help guide you through that process, and some things to consider as well if you have to actually do that in this particular market, especially being a hot seller's market. But before that, I'm Proverbs, love my TPT version, but I was reading this morning on Proverbs 3:21 through 26. So bear with me while I read it. And, I'm always about wisdom, and I think it just continues to apply to today, using our wisdom and our discernment. So it states, my child, never drift off course from these two goals in your life. Two goals: to walk in wisdom and to discover discernment. Don't ever forget how they empower you, for they strengthen you inside and out and inspire you to do what's right. You will be energized and refreshed by the healing they bring. They give you life, or they give you living hope to guide you, and no one of life's tests will cause you to stumble. You will sleep like a baby, safe and sound. Your rest will be sweet and secure. You will not be subject to terror, for it would not terrify you, nor will the disrespectful be able to push you aside, because God is your confidence in times of crisis, keeping your heart at rest in every situation. And man, I think, at least for myself, that's just a good constant reminder that, no matter what's going on in the world, and this Bible, the test of time, and they've had some crazy times even before now, that, when you empower yourself with wisdom and have a discernment on the things that have been speaking, discernment meaning, being able to judge the spirits, is this positive, is this negative, is this of God or is it not? But being solid in that and knowing the voice of God and having a relationship with the Holy Spirit will be able to guide you during this time. And, I have friends, I have people, I have clients that do and are in terror in a lot of ways. And, again, that's one thing that you can't tell someone, hey, don't be terrified, don't be scared. It's easier said than done, right? But I think just the word of God and a lot of the things in Proverbs, and as far as wisdom is concerned, I do think that it really does benefit, especially in this time, to make sure that you are full of knowledge. Don't think that one person or one thing has all of the answers. You have to look at the whole picture in order to navigate this particular time and to keep your faith at that, right? So that getting the word of God, out the way, which I think just, yeah, I know that's for somebody. But other than that, I'd like to talk about marketing matters. And so I follow, it's called, let's see here. It's called Keeping Current Matters. And I love it. And the reason why I love this site and kind of what they do, what they're all about, or Keeping Current Matters. And the reason why I like them is because they really have a pulse on what's going on in the world. So not only as myself a realtor, but it's kind of good to have stats and things that I can, send back to my clients. And so the website, if you're interested, is keepingcurrentmatters.com. And it talks about why now may be the best time to sell your home. And I agree full-heartedly with what they're talking about and what they're saying, because, those that have been following since like December and talking about this market, it's the truth. Like, it's made an incredible recovery this year, and it's positioned for even stronger in 2021. And, we've already had, record low mortgage interest rates, and it's continuing to drive it. The last update, even just last week, it was reported that it was another major low of being 2.6, I think 2.65, 2.67 in interest rates, which is incredibly low when historically you look to see that, hey, several years ago was at 17 and just kept going down. And it's kind of a good thing to continue to drive the economy. But according to the Realtors Confidence Index survey, the buyer demand across the country is actually incredibly strong. So, hey, we're in the Silicon Valley right now. And I always talk to people and I say, this is like the ripple effect. Whatever happens here, it happens everywhere else. It just does. Why? Because we have the strength in the people that can afford the homes. It's pretty expensive when you look at it relatively, but the people make the money in order to pay the home prices and in rental prices as well over here. So we pretty much determine how everyone else is going to be, even in the Bay Area. And it's good when it comes to, the buyer demand is incredibly strong. However, and I've said this before, the supply side, the seller traffic is very, very low. And that's the thing that I think with people in understanding that, hey, it's great, but we need more homes and we need more inventory. Check this out. NAR just reported that the actual number of homes currently for sale stands at 1.28 million. And guess what? That's down 22% from 1 year ago. 1 year ago was at 1.64 million. Can you believe that? So that just means that, this is great. However, for buyers that want to capitalize on this low interest rate, you're going to have a lot of competition. Additionally, inventory is an all-time low with a 2.3 month supply available at the current sales pace. So in a normal market, that number would be 6 months of inventory, and that's significantly higher than what it is today, right? So what does that mean? And it's good to note that, it seems like it's dismal. Oh, all these cash buyers are going to come in, but no, not necessarily. I'm seeing a lot of really, money strength, loan strength, or asset strength, liquid money strength. Why? Because, a lot of stocks have, matured. There's a lot of those coming from Google, Apple, Facebook, that live around here that are able to capitalize on that and be strong in this market. So don't get it twisted. It's not necessarily our cash buyers that are in this particular market. It's people with actually really good loans, 35% down, 50% down, that are coming in, non-contingent, of course, and capitalizing on this market. The thing is to try to wait till spring, which is usually, this is the trend. Usually it's like springtime. Then you start to kind of get your home on the market and start to do things to go into summer. But that's not the case right now. People have been starting since December and getting on the ball and rolling it with selling their homes and capitalizing on what's happening right now, the momentum. And hence, on our next segment, I'll talk more about if you want to capitalize on it and you want to move up a property, this is one of the best times to do it. And I'll explain why and actually what to look for, because I'm working with several clients that are doing that very thing. And I figured, this is probably some good information to share. But sellers, they also state that sellers may not want to wait until spring to put their houses on the market. Because there's such a high buyer demand and such a low supply, it's now like optimal and really, they would say the perfect time to sell a house at the optimal terms. Because the best thing that you need right now is someone coming in, multiple offers. Guess what? They're going to need to have no contingencies, or at least very, very little. And most of the offers coming in will probably be non-contingent. So what does that mean? That means getting yourself set up for your inspections. If you plan on selling, and like I said, I'm setting myself up for the next segment, but in inspections, getting yourself set up so that the home, when someone comes and sees it, when they're looking at all the disclosures and reports, they have everything up front. If it's a condo, you have your HOA documents, you have everything in place so that when someone comes in and saying, okay, non-contingent, I want to buy your home, you have everything to provide to them to make sure that it's an easy transition and it's a smooth process. And, it's no questions asked about what's going on with the property because they've done their due diligence. And you have too, as your seller, to give them everything that they need in order to bring in a non-contingent offer. And hopefully as a buyer, making sure your strength in your lender and who you're working with, make sure that you are pre-underwritten, meaning you've gone through all of it. They've checked all of your credit, your reports, your assets, everything that they've checked so that you're good to go on your lending side, meaning that your team has to be on point. And I say this constantly with buyers that I have, my team is all important. So when we come back, I'm going to talk more about how that whole process works. It's kind of confusing. It can be like really, really intimidating, but it's very, very, it's a very, very rewarding thing when you do it and you do it the right way. Stand by. This is Tamika Ellsworth, Faith in Home Buying. See you in a bit. All right, so we're back again for the second segment. This is the meat of things, because a lot of people, they have homes they were able to purchase in a great market, maybe about 2014 or so, and they have a lot of equity that's sitting up in that home. The beauty about that is on markets like this, easy sell. I wouldn't even say necessarily easy. You do have to get the home prepped, in order to get the offers that make you non-contingent or coming in with barely anything on them as far as contingencies or none at all. Your house has to be prepped and ready to go. That being said, there's a lot of equity that a lot of people have built up over this time, and that's a great thing. However, let's utilize that equity. Yes, let's utilize those funds in order to purchase a new home or a bigger home or a step-up type of home property. Or, if you want to leave the state, you can leave the state. But we're talking about those that want to stay here and actually move into bigger properties. And that's who I'm working with for quite a bit. Maybe they want more space, they want more land. And so what I'm seeing is, the biggest thing is being able to sell your home in a incredibly great market. So you get kind of max dollar on that, but being able to actually purchase, to be able to purchase in a way where you're not paying hopefully too high, but you're paying just enough so that you don't get caught up on that high. So but you have low interest rates to kind of balance it out. And so that's why it's a really good time to purchase and buy. So a lot of things that my clients are going through, and I say is probably an easier way to kind of go in and beat out, markets that, for the resale market, because it's going to end up pushing your prices higher anyway, is looking at the new market. So all depending on your timeline, I'd say look at this. So if you need to sell your home, number one, so selling your home, you got to look at your timeline, right? In a hot market, obviously you want to make sure you capitalize on a hot sale. However, because of COVID and restrictions, do you want everybody going inside your house when it comes to showings and such? Hopefully, it's a lot of showings that can happen at once. People go in, see the home, you have a quick deadline in order to get the offers in. I've noticed that seems to be a really, really good strategy, just in case I have clients that do live inside the home. But If you're going through something like you have an autoimmune disease, or there is a sickness that's happening, do you want to be in a house knowing that everybody is going to be going in and out of that home? That might not be the best course of action for you. So that being said, do you have family that you can stay with? So you got to look at your housing. Do you have family that you can stay with? Can you afford to go into a smaller downsized apartment? Maybe have storage inside your garage for a little bit while the home is selling, or storage unit that you can go into in order to sell the home, and so you don't have to worry about any kind of sickness or anyone COVID wise. That adds that little extra element of of difficulty, right? Yes, you can get a rent back. Rent back is about, is when the buyer comes in and they'll allow you to stay inside the home, hopefully for free, for about 30 days, max 60 days. So, if you're looking at a new build property, a max 60 days probably might not work for you, only because the home is probably not going to be built into a little bit. So, nowadays, like I've talked about in my last episode, that new builds are taking a little bit longer because of COVID in order to build. And there's waiting lists. So that's a lot of what my clients are going through right now. There's waiting lists that they have to sit on in order to purchase on that site. So that's something you have to take into account too. Yes, you can have a rent back and stay inside your home, but unfortunately, you're going to have to take into account that the home might not be ready yet. That brings me to, there's a lot of times that new builds, and I talked about this before, that new builds, they will not, and they don't like to have the contingency on you selling the home. Some are okay with it and some aren't. So it just depends on the builder. And so just make sure that that's something that you make sure you let them know that this has to happen. I've had clients that are absolutely blessed and they don't need to sell their home in order to purchase another one, so they can get approved without being non-contingent. And so later on, we get approved, we sell the home, they're going to get the money anyway. And so by the time that the home is built, they use that money from the equity versus any assets that they were going to use, or any stocks or CDs that they were going to use. It works out in their favor, but not everyone can do that, right? So that's on the sell side of the home. You have to take into account, your timelines, where you're going to stay, health issues, having a rent back, but understanding too that in a resale market, if you're not dealing with new construction and you want to sell your home and purchase a resale home or an existing property, you have to figure too, a lot of people are coming in not having that contingency. So it weakens your offer, even if you come in non-contingent, but that one, it still weakens your offer, and it weakens a lot of your chances on competing for homes, especially in a hot competitive seller's market. So that's another thing to consider too. Going out in that market, having that, or being a little bit uncomfortable, having to downsize for a bit, and then you'll be able to come with strength of money in your down. So those are always things to consider and tips. So let's talk about that as far as prepping the home, okay? So prepping the home and the timing of it, best thing to do, and the one of the things I encourage my clients to do just as we're in that process is get your inspections. Get your inspections done, property, roof, and termite. Pool if you have it, maybe even chimney, so that there's no doubt when a buyer comes in and they're looking at everything on the home on what they're getting, okay? And it's helpful to, again, if you have kids and, the prepping of a home, do you want to stay inside the home and continue to have the home looking, pristine, as you live with it? That's another thing too. Luckily, we're in the market that hopefully things can go faster and you don't have to worry about the staging inside of a home or keeping things pristine, especially if you have babies. So I know that's hard, but that's another thing to think about too, why you would probably want to move outside so you don't have to worry about that as well. Also too, I'm looking at landscaping. So all of that stuff, right now it's not necessarily raining, especially over here. We're going into springtime, which is great. So you'll be able to do landscaping. You'll be able to power wash a home or just paint, the outside for great curb appeal. So you do have time to do those things, especially now that we're kind of going out of winter. It just makes for a best time to prep your home, especially on outside landscaping or just any type of construction at that. Or any type of repairs, health and safety that you need to do with the home, Or, well, shoot, as is. If you have a whole lot of equity inside the home, to be honest with you, you may say, you know, Tamika, take the home as is. I'm not doing anything to it. I'm going to make $600,000 off of this home anyway. And if it goes down a little bit, I'm still okay. I still cleared my net and everything that I need in order to purchase on the other side. You may be one of those too. I may say, I want it to look good, but you know, it's really up to you. But I think that those are like just key components. You know, to success with regards to having it happen all at the same time is making sure that even the other side, the realtor that you're using, that they've done it before. Because good God, to try to do it and for the first time is difficult. And that was years back trying to do it for the first time. It was a lot of balls to juggle. So you got to make sure, number one, that your team knows what they're doing and they're experienced in doing it. Because any ball that gets dropped, it affects not only you, but your buyers also on the other end. Whatever affects the buyers affects you, which affects the sellers that are in the other house. So you have like 3 families that are being affected a lot of times, you know, on this if certain things go wrong or certain things are not communicated, because that's the key. You got to communicate. And so, although it's difficult, communication and having a good team, and that's also too, not only just your real estate people, it's your title companies as well, making sure the title companies know what they're doing, they're on it, they communicate, you know, they communicate problems before they arise. You know, right now we're having problems with appraisers coming in, and they're taking a lot longer to get scheduled. Only because we're going through so many different refinances, so many people capitalizing on, you know, this particular low rate. You got a lot of appraisers that are slow and delayed. So communication on both sides. I mean, I'm in one right now. Communications on both sides of having to communicate. Look, my appraisal on the other side is not done yet. I know I need to remove my seller contingencies, but you got to hold on for a little bit because we haven't even got our appraisal yet. So it's things like that we just, you know, to make sure that you're aware of. And as a buyer, you know, you're obviously not going to remember this, but that's good. Hopefully you can play this podcast again, and so that you can see some of the things that I've said and some of the things to look out for, especially if your agent hasn't mentioned them before. Or you can actually just get started on, you know, certain things to prep your house. If you know that this is something that you need to do, you prep your house up to the point of, I know that I'm moving from here. So either way, whether someone comes and purchases my house, even if I don't have something on the other side ready for me, I know that I'm going to sell my house and I want to capitalize on this market, have my chunk of change inside my pocket and move on. So again, you can contact me 408-561 if you 561-7922. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'd love to work with you in this market, even as a buyer. Believe me, advocacy is one thing, but if you're a seller, there's a lot of buyers out here that want to buy your home. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. I can tell you that. I can tell you that much. But if you do, please do give me a call. You can check me out on my website, TamikaEllsworth.com. I'm on TikTok, realestate_T, or my Instagram, Tamika Ellsworth. And I'd love to chat about how you can capitalize on this market. And hey, even if you do need to sell a home in order to purchase another one, I have some great resources to some new construction and even some things that are coming off market that I can show you. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Until next time, this is Tamika Ellsworth, Faith in Home Buying and equipping people of faith for the home buying process. Thank you. God bless.